October 1st, and we are at the Richard Whitted Building in Hillsborough, and this is a regular business meeting. Thank you all for coming. I'm not going to read the public charge to you, but basically, we respect everybody in this room, and we expect you all to respect us as well. And as usual, do we have any additions or changes to the agenda?
Madam Chair,
Yes, sir.
I would like to request that item 8E and 8F in the consent agenda be switched to put 8E as the last item. It concerns a contract with Summit Engineering, of which I work. I'm going to request that I be excused from participating in either the discussion or the vote.
So you want 8D to move to the,
No, 8E.
8E,
8E
Okay.
to move to the last item.
and move 8F above it.
Just switch
Sure.
the order.
Does anyone have a problem with that?
No.
Okay. Anything else? Okay, thank you. Tonight, we have our arts moment, and come on up. Board member Linda Williamson will introduce our artist.
Linda Williamson, and I am here to introduce Lynn Fairchild Hawks. And she writes young adult contemporary fiction about gifted and weird and wise teens. She's the author of How Wendy Redbird Dancing Survived the Dark Ages of Naught, and Minerta, a graphic novella collaboration with illustrator Robin Fillet, and a short story collection, The Flat and Weightless Tang-Filled Future. She and her literary agent are currently submitting her latest novel to publishers, a story about an intrepid teen journalist exposing the truth about corruption on her school's sports team. In her other life, Lynn is an education geek who designs online courses for gifted youth at Duke Tip. She was a former AIG resource teacher for A.L. Standback and C.W. Stanford Middle School. She lives in Chapel Hill with her husband, Americana musician Greg Hawks, and her stepson Henry is a graduate of Cedar Ridge High School and DePaul University. And if you want to learn more, go to lynnhawks.com. Ta-da! And there's Lynn.
Welcome, Lynn.
Good evening. Thank you so much for supporting the arts in our community and recognizing it. I want to read to you tonight from my young adult novel, How Wendy Redbird Dancing Survived the Dark Ages of Naught. It's a story about a teen girl who feels lost all the time and finds the courage to rise from the ashes of bullying and assault. She's a girl who finally claims her right to share her voice. There are many kids in our communities who experience trauma and have great resilience in getting themselves up to school every day. I won't give spoilers about what actually Wendy has survived, but as we all know, sometimes just getting through a school day is hard enough. Wendy's 15. She's just moved to North Carolina in May of 2009. Her mother, Sunny, has uprooted them from California and dumped her in a new school. Wendy's a loner. She's often bullied, and she hides under her hoodie. She worships Michael Jackson and finds solace in his music. In fact, she believes he might be a saint. And if you at any time were ever a fan of Michael Jackson when you grew up like I did in the 80s, you might know the significance of June 25th, 2009, which will greatly impact Wendy. She's often a target of bullying, and so at her new school quickly becomes the target of the most popular girl, Deanna Fair. So I'm reading a quick scene here from after getting back home after a bad day when Wendy falls apart in her bedroom. Once inside my room, I start to shake. My pulse soars, my temples throb, my skin ignites. Just some Deanna PTSD, you'll be all right. No, I won't. My chest tight as a drum, there's no air. Count, count. Count the knots in the pine of all the door frames, door to living room, door to closet, door to bathroom, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. My heart's so fast I might die, I might die. I must leave all of this right now. This life is a target. 16, always it must be 16. The age I'll be this summer, which times 2 is 32, the age by which I will have won an Emmy or a Tony. And times 3 is 48, which is the age when I will be at least 16 years living in a far-flung region, Luxembourg or Madagascar or Nova Scotia. Oh, I put my head between my knees. My breath is back in ragged bits. Focus on what you can count. I see 16 CDs in each of 7 stacks as I own 7 of Saint MJ's 11 solo albums. From the 1979 spark of dying disco brilliance off the wall through the 2001 Invincible, I possess exactly 16 copies of each for emergencies, study, and worship. My eyes light on the best of the seven, the story of perfection, thriller. My heart slows. 1982. I cradle the CD in my hands, Michael in all his serenity of purest black and white, the best-selling album of all time and winner of a record-breaking 8 Grammys. You'd want to be starting something should you say anything could ever beat it. No mere mortal can resist it, the very essence of our human nature. This is such an interesting revelation, I become supremely calm. When Sonny busts in, sweating, half naked in some unidentified male's boxers and a sodden Twilight November 2008 t-shirt, I'm laid out flat on the floor in a half doze, feeling hardwood work my shoulders like a brutal masseuse, CD on my solar plexus, listening to Human Nature on my stereo 16 times. Wendy Bird, don't you get sick of this album? I hit stop on the remote. The song is ruined. I say, did you know at one time Michael Jackson owned 30 rats? He wasn't so keen on them when they started eating each other. Sonny grimaces. Gross, TMI. And no, Mother, I do not get sick of this album. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. That was great. I failed to mention that Commissioner Green is out of town and will not be attending tonight's meeting. She will be back soon. Okay, folks, now we're at the point where we're talking about public comment that are matters that are not on the printed agenda. If you want to speak to something on the printed agenda, you'll have that opportunity when we bring that agenda item up. So I have one person that would like to speak tonight, and that's Mr. Riley Ruskey. Mr. Ruskey, you have 3 minutes.
Good evening.
Good evening.
It's been a month since I presented a petition for the board to start every meeting with the Pledge of Allegiance. The board has not responded. This should be a quick and easy decision on this matter by U.S. citizens who are government officials who took an oath to support the Constitution and laws of the United States. How much longer will it take the board to decide?
Thank you, Mr. Ruskey. We have your petition. It's going through the process. Our process is it goes to agenda review. Agenda review comes up with a comment. It goes to all our board members. We have the opportunity for our board members to weigh in, and we will have this on the agenda at the next business meeting. Okay. Would anyone else like to speak to something not on the printed agenda? Great. Thank you. Announcements, petitions, comments by the board members. Commissioner Dorson, you want to start?
Sure. I just have one petition tonight. I would like to, the board to set up a committee or a board, to look into, explore, and analyze the possibility of establishing universal pre-K in Orange County. We've talked about this several times during budgets. It's come up with some stuff with DSS and Family Success Alliance. It's being done in other communities, and I don't think we've ever really gotten a good assessment of the scope of the underserved children in Orange County, how many there are, what the impediments are, and, costs, facilities, teachers, exactly what it would take for us to have a universal pre-K. So, and there's lots of great people who have done work on this issue in the county and in the, in other counties that have been doing it. So I'd like to petition that we set up a special committee that would have a charge for, 6 months or a year, however long they needed, and then we'd come back with a report, an assessment, and potentially a path forward to begin to do that.
Can I ask you a question on that?
Yes.
In your, the way you're thinking about your committee, is this folks from our board, from the school boards, from the general public? I mean, what are you thinking of the makeup of this committee?
Well,
or is that part of the discussion?
I think that could be part of the discussion when we set it up. I think any of those groups, any interested group ought to be represented, but I think it should be a small committee, a working committee. It should have, with people with some expertise, so people who are working for, people have been doing like Child Care Services Agency and folks from Smart Start or More at 4. There's, and there's experts, again, that may not reside in Orange County, but that have been looking at this in other communities. We've been working at the state level, and so, along with, obviously, local representatives as well.
Good, thank you. Commissioner Price?
Yes, I have two. One is that I'd like to petition this board to support a collaborative effort between Orange County Health Department and UNC Medical regarding the opioid epidemic. Other organizations are involved as well, and others will be invited. This is a follow-up from the forum that was held, I believe it was last year at the library. And I have, Quintana Stewart has provided a one-page description of what they intend to do. And so I would like this board to consider supporting this effort morally as well as financially if and when the need arises. The second one, again, regarding the Board of Health, the Health Department, is that I just want to express my appreciation for the event that they held a couple of weeks ago, Be the Light. It was the suicide prevention walk. This was the third time that they've done it, and unfortunately, the number of shoes that were displayed has gone up. But again, I think it's something that we need to pay attention to and be supportive of others in our community. So those are my two.
You should explain what that is, Be the Light, for people who might not know.
It's suicide prevention walk.
Oh.
That's what I said, yeah.
Commissioner Bedford?
I would like to report that last Friday, Chair Rich and I met with Representative Verla Insco and Deputy Secretary Cody Kinsley from the North Carolina Department of Health and Human Services to talk about care and constituent concerns with our MCOs, and it was a successful meeting. We went over our hour and a half. My car was ticketed, but it was not towed, so that's good. And we are looking forward to some changes at the bigger state level and some state impact on accountability, financial consistency, all the usual government and governance type issues. So it was a good start. And then I will be, on Friday, our local CFAC, which is the Community Family Advisory Council, is hosting a self-advocate days program, and I'll be doing the welcoming remarks for 5 minutes. And Deputy Secretary Kinsley will be there as well to explain Medicaid transformation with the group. There's still time to sign up. If anybody's interested, you would go to the Cardinal Innovations Healthcare website. Thank you.
I have no petitions or announcements tonight, but I would heartily endorse Commissioner Dorson's petition on universal pre-K. I've long been convinced that if we do not catch many of these children and get them up to speed in their very first years in public education, they're going to lag behind and suffer lifelong problems associated with being behind to start with.
Commissioner Markopoulos?
So last week, we had the first meeting of the Orange County Climate Council. We had over 20 members out of a potential, I think our number's at around 28 now, and we've got some of those slots already filled. People couldn't make it, and we're on the verge of filling the other slots. But it was a great first meeting, a lot of really spirited, enthusiastic discussion. The first thing we're going to focus on is sharing what each agency and government already does in the way of sustainability and climate action, so we can learn from each other, learn where we can collaborate, learn where we can take someone else's ideas. But we're really looking forward to it. It's a great group of sustainability directors from the schools and from the governments, and NAACPs are there, the Sierra Club. So it's going to be a productive group. And on a related note, we have this information sheet about the solar charging station, not just the solar charging station, but all the electric charging stations. But what I want to highlight is that we're going to have a solar charging station that obviously doesn't need to be connected to anything, because it's just going to receive sunlight. And it's going to power 3 vans that are going to be part of our on-demand, our new on-demand transportation system in the county. So we're going from using fuel and buses to serving the rural transportation needs with only solar power. So it's a great project, and it'll be a couple of months, I understand, before it gets off the ground. But when it does, I think we really need to highlight this particular project. It's a great one.
Todd's right over there. You can just mention that to him again. Those newsletters. Thank you. That committee's gotten some news coverage also, WCHL and
Yeah.
the Daily Tar Heel. So that was.
Came on the heels of, the Climate Action Day, right? So
Yeah.
there was a lot of attention. It was, just coincidentally a perfect time to start.
It was great, yeah. So I just have a few things. On behalf of the board, I really want to thank Commissioner Bedford for everything that she's been doing with this healthcare stuff. I know that we've been working with Cardinal for a while, and a lot of us have been frustrated, whether we've served on the board or didn't serve on their board. Commissioner Bedford has put a tremendous amount of time in this, and I just wanted to, on behalf of the board, thank you, because it is a lot of work, and I know it means a lot to you, so thank you. We had our first pilot work sessions with Mebane and Carborough, and so far, so good. The meetings went well. We had some good topics to talk about, and I think we'll get some good outcomes and next steps. Those meeting minutes will be turned around 2 weeks from the time of the meeting. And what the manager has planned is to take those minutes, and everyone will get them electronically, but they will also be posted as an information item in a regular agenda. So folks that don't necessarily come to our meetings and say, here's the minutes, or don't go and see, all the website where we post all, the information items will be on the agenda items. So they're pretty verbatim notes. They're going to be like school collaboration. So we can always direct folks to go to those minutes if need be. So we've got Mebane under our belt. Great meeting with Mebane. We haven't met with Mebane in a couple of years, so it was really exciting to start talks with them again. Something that led forward at the Mebane meeting was that they wanted to be involved in the climate committee, which we didn't originally have a spot for them on there. So that was pretty exciting that they wanted to join in on that, and I'm sure you'll make space for them at the table. And then Carborough, we picked up on some of the issues that we had been talking about in the past, but I'm hoping to move some of those forward. We also had a MMC meeting, managers, mayors, and chair meeting about the Green Tract last week. And we were following up on what this board has discussed as far as trying to create a governance document to help us move forward. This is a very, very, very draft form right now. It's sort of just bullet points put down on a sheet of paper, and we're trying to work through that with the boards. But we did get an email today from Maggie, who is facilitating the meetings, and we have a meeting coming up with Chapel Hill. And if y'all can help me understand what we want from Chapel Hill, in addition to understanding, what our partnership looks like on the Green Tract, you could either send me some topics, or speak now and I'll write them down. We're moving forward, but it's still a little concerning that we're all not on the same page. And so if y'all can help me get those topics down, then we can bring that conversation forward. Commissioner Dorson, yeah.
When you say you had a meeting and there was talk about there's like a working draft of some governance structure, I mean, isn't
Yeah.
there already a governance structure in place? I mean, the three of us jointly own the property. There's a part that Orange County owns individually. It's in Chapel Hill's planning jurisdiction, so they'll have control over, the zoning and so what exactly, I mean, are we revisiting that in some way? I'm not sure what do you mean there's going to be a governance
Well, it's
document?
confusing because there was never anything put in place on how we move forward if one of the partners or two of the partners agree on something and one of the partners don't. There's nothing in place that tells us, there's no playbook, there's no nothing that puts us through, do we go through mediation? Do we start talking about, what does that look like? Because right now, it feels like that's where we're at. Carrboro and Orange County are ready to go to the next phase, the next step, to start looking at that land, to see what can be built there, what can't be built there. And just start to think about affordable housing and the needs of the county, which we know are a lot. And we don't seem to feel like Chapel Hill's on the same page with us.
I mean, have we ever even recombined the parcels? I mean, have we ever even gotten that far? Or do we still own that square 60 acres and the rest of it's jointly owned? I mean,
I'm going to ask Travis to come up and help us with this, because.
have we even got, I mean, are we back at that point where they haven't even agreed to, redo the parcels?
I believe that they have agreed to do the parcels, but they didn't agree to put any kind of designation on those parcels.
And I have one question. When you say that they don't want to do affordable housing, they have actually said
I
we do that?
didn't say they don't want to do affordable housing. I didn't say
So
that.
they didn't agree with what we wanted to do.
No, I didn't say that. We don't know what we want to do yet. We know we want affordable housing there, but we don't know what that looks like yet. So there's nothing for them to have agreed on yet.
So then where's the problem?
Well, because the problem is we and Carrboro agreed on that resolution.
Yeah.
And then they didn't agree with that resolution. They refused to pass that resolution. Remember, they came up with their
They
own
came with a new
resolution.
one, yeah.
Right, so there's a disagreement there.
And we have to figure out how to move forward.
From that
From
disagreement,
that,
yeah.
okay. Well, you mentioned the affordable housing. I thought you were saying they didn't want it.
Can you just talk a little bit about the parcels, what Commissioner Dorson's question? Sure.
So, as the board remembers, the Board of Commissioners in Carrboro passed a resolution that included this map that said, well, we're going to put affordable housing here, we're going to have a school site here, we're going to have this area as joint preserve. So that was identical in both the Chapel Hill or in both the Carrboro and Orange County resolutions. The Chapel Hill resolution removed those designations from the map and just made them sort of unspecified, subject to a longer public information and public input community first planning process. So because of that, we have not moved forward with reconfiguring the Headwaters Preserve. That 60 acres is still the county's chunk, all in the northern part of the parcel.
Right, so we haven't even gotten to where we were, where we seemed like we had all agreed we'd reconfigure that 60 acres to protect the most environmentally sensitive areas, and then have these other areas that are not environmentally sensitive available for whatever kind of development we wanted to do. So they haven't even agreed to that.
I think they would agree to the reconfiguration. However, I'm not sure that it'd be in everyone's interest to do that without knowing where the rest of the designations would be.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't want to agree to changing it around and then have them say, oh, this developable land you just gave to the joint thing, we don't want you to develop.
Right.
Which is how it appears it's going.
That was my advice to the chair.
Well, that's why we pay you the big bucks.
Commissioner Markopoulos.
So I think one place to start is we need to know precisely what had been agreed upon the last time everybody agreed, and that, I guess it was in January, when the mayors and you had, the collaboration had moved to a certain point, and there was a certain agreement on the ways to proceed. And then I'd like to see that contrasted with what they passed on July 15th, which, we were there the whole time, and I tried to stay until I understood what they had passed, but they left before we could figure out what they passed, right? It was more like Czechs-it. It was the Chapel Hill exit. But anyway, I'd like to know what it is they think they passed and how that contrasts with what had been agreed upon up to that point. Nobody really knows that yet, I don't think.
So, yeah.
Ask another question?
Yeah, please.
If you were going to say something, go ahead.
No, I just wanted to say that that was a 2.5-year process. Commissioner Dorson was on that for 2.25 of the years. I only came in on afterwards at the end. So he worked on Resolution A with Mayor Lavelle and Mayor Heminger, and that was what was brought forward at the Assembly of Governments. So if that's what you're talking about,
Yeah.
from the MMC, that Resolution A was an agreement by all of the bodies there, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and
And
Orange
that's
County.
essentially what we endorsed as well.
That's what we
right?
endorsed, that's what
But
Carrboro endorsed.
It'd be great for the public as well to see what that said and whatever it is they passed says, just to compare the two so we know where they've moved away from it, because it's very unclear. I mean, we've got to clear that up before we can get any farther.
Okay.
Well, I was just going to ask, is our 60 acres also in the Chapel Hill planning jurisdiction? If we wanted to do something on that piece we own by ourselves, is it still in their planning jurisdiction and they'd have to approve it? I believe it is. Yeah. Okay, thanks.
Just one last thing about this, and then we can move on, is that there has been this Community One group that is now meeting, that, again, Carrboro and Orange County did not give input into, and so we're not quite sure what this group is charged with. They have no staff members on this group, and they have no elected officials, although the manager from Chapel Hill said they are being advised somehow, but we didn't quite figure out what that meant. But for me, I'd really like to know what our partnership means. What does a partnership with everybody mean? And that's why I think it's important to have this governance document, because if we're a landowner and someone is starting to discuss what they're doing on that land, I would think that the landowner should be part of that conversation.
We have an affordable housing crisis, and we own the land. We have this great opportunity to not only provide affordable housing, but to show that we can collaborate together on a major contribution to the community. So we really got to get it figured out.
Agreed. Okay, so everyone, if you think of anything in the meantime, the meeting is next week. If you can just shoot me an email, that would be great. If you can include Maggie and Travis on it, this way it'll go right into the agenda. That'd be perfect. Okay, thanks. Number 4, we have proclamations, resolutions, special presentations. We have none, so let's move right to the public hearing. And this is NCDOT Public Transportation Division Public Transportation 5311 Community Transportation Program Grant Application FY 2021. The board will conduct a public hearing on a North Carolina Community Transportation Program, the CTP grant application by Orange County Transportation Services, OCTS, for FY 2021, and consider voting to approve the grant application and adopt a resolution authorizing the county to enter into agreement with the North Carolina Department of Transportation. And Theo is going to walk us through this.
Good evening.
Welcome.
Chair Rich and Commissioners. This is our annual Community Transportation Program grant application, and this will be for fiscal year 2021. Typically, we also, in conjunction with this application, also have our Rural Operating Assistance Program grant. This year, due to the budget impasse at the Capitol, NCDOT has not provided us with the annual allocation yet, so that will be forthcoming. So this is just our rural program, our 5311 grant application for administrative expenses. Each year, the North Carolina Department of Transportation, Public Transportation Division accepts requests for operations administrative needs for county-operated community transportation programs. OCTS is eligible to make application for both operations and administrative funding, and we have been allotted $179,189 total. Local share would be $26,878. We propose to utilize currently available general funds to cover the required local match. However, we do have our tax district dollars that we could also utilize as a local match. So it could, not impact the general fund. And we have to conduct a public hearing to allow members of the public, of the community, the opportunity to comment on transportation needs and the grant.
Okay. Questions for Theo? Yes, Commissioner Dworson.
So I was looking at the documentation, and I know it says that, there's a page in here somewhere where it says that these funds are going to it looks like they're going to generally be used in the for administration.
Correct.
So can you say a little bit about what that means specifically?
Yes, it typically covers a percentage
But
of
I
the
want to know
salaries.
I'm asking what it means specifically. Yeah. Oh, no, I was looking for something else. Yeah, go ahead, sorry.
No problem. It typically covers a percentage of the administrative salaries for staff, and we just happen to have several examples of my staff here tonight. I have Ms. Talisha Holloway, who's our transportation administrator. I have Ms. Allison Coltrane, who's our transit demand coordinator. And we also have a new position, Ms. Lorena Bird, who is our transit intern. So those are the types of administrative staff that this grant can cover.
So it doesn't cover anything like maintenance or,
That would be under our operational
Okay.
grant agreements.
does it cover the salaries of drivers? And
No, it cannot cover operational staff,
So it's just very specific to
administrative.
administrative. But then you can use monies for other things. You move money around so you don't have to spend it.
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions?
Make a motion.
Please, motion to
Open
open
the
the,
public hearing for our North Carolina Department of Transportation, Public Transportation Division, Transportation 5311 Community Transportation Program Grant.
second, anyone?
Second?
Okay, Dorson. Markopoulos. All those in favor? Aye. We do not have anyone from the public that has signed up. Would anyone like to speak about this? Okay, Commissioner Bedford, would you like to
Move to
motion
close the public hearing.
Second.
Second, Markopoulos. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so now we need to approve the Community Transportation Program grant application, which includes adopting the resolution FY 2021, the total amount of $179,189. Local matching fund 26,878 will be provided. When necessary, we need to authorize the chair to sign the Community Transportation Program resolution, the local share certification for funding form, and the anticipated DBE DEW vendor award, whatever that means. Authorize the chair and county attorney to review and sign the annual 2020 certifications and assurance documents when available. This says 2020, but we're signing it for 2021?
That's correct. The federal certs and assurances comes out once a year, and is usually a year lag behind.
Okay.
So moved?
Second.
Second, all those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Thank you, Theo. And I just wanted to point out, in the social justice, OCTS provides opportunity for access to jobs and service to many individuals, which is great. Also, under the environmental impact, which is one of our newer additions to the agenda, the 513 grant provides Orange County access to funds to support its rural transportation infrastructure that promotes the use of clean diesel and alternative fuel vehicles, which results in reduced carbon emissions and high density at-risk populations. So thank you for that, and thank you for the solar panels and the electric vehicles. We're pretty excited about that.
Yes, we are too. Thank you.
Okay, folks, we're going to move on to 6A, and this is a regular agenda. This is adoption of the final financing resolution authorizing the insurance of $37 million in installment purchases financed for various capital investment plan projects, including refinancing existing county debt of $16,359,886. The board will consider voting to adopting the final finance resolution authorizing the insurance of approximately $37 million in installment financing to finance capital investment projects and equipment, which includes refinancing $16,359,886 of existing county debt and including amounts to pay transition costs. And we did have a public hearing on this at our September 3rd meeting, and Gary Donaldson will guide us through this one.
Good evening, Commissioners. Yes, as you said, Madam Chair, excuse me, we had the requisite public hearings for both the refinancing amount and the new money, which encompasses funding for the CIP projects. So there are several, as you see in the package, attachments here that were drafted by bond counsel who's with us tonight, Bob Jessup, and the other members of the financing team. So basically, the LGC has approved our application. That was approved today, this afternoon. I want to note that in the package, you see not to exceed of $50 million in some of the documents. That was just because they were at the point we were looking at it. Those were numbers were higher. We since downsized it based on some of the information I'll go through here with respect to the final capital projects and the amount that we're refinancing. So on the bullet, the PowerPoint there, you see the new money component is $18.9 million, and where we are today, $16.4 for the refunding component. I will say that when we look at the savings later on, the debt service run was done 2 weeks ago, and we had savings of $599,000 at that time. We had the underwriters do a run yesterday, and we're at $630,000. So it's, you know, the market has been in our favor. In terms of, I indicated last time that we would come back to you with the final projects so that you can see any changes. They want to highlight the Link Center, as you know, is being rebid. So that project of $6.5 million is out and will come back in spring 2020 in the spring financing. As noted at the top, the big ticket item, the Northern Campus for the site preparation, both for the detention center, the Ag Center, and the Parks Operation Base, again at $10 million. The Southern Campus project, $4.6 million. Passmore Center, $199,000. I also want to point out the Community Loan Fund. You recall that you adopted a nonprofit policy some months ago, and so we're funding the IFC, Club Nova, and the Orange Rape Crisis. So those are included in this package again. And as we noted previously, the vehicle replacement projects are in there, the Whitted building and the emergency services building, all totaling $18.9 million in CIP-funded projects. So this is the refinancing savings. As you can see, the last column, $599,000. That's a run a couple weeks ago. We're at $630,000. I do want to say that if the market completely turns away from us, we have a 3% policy that's measuring savings as a percentage of the refinance bonds. If the market completely turns away from us, we won't proceed with that new money, and I will come back with an information item at the next board meeting to let you know that. But so far, everything is looking great. The pricing, again, is October 16th. This is, again, you're familiar with our debt model metrics. Again, very strong. We have received 2 of the 3 rating agencies affirmation of our AAA rating and the AA+, AA1 for the limited obligation bond. The limited obligation bonds are always rated a notch below our AAA rating. So we expect the Moody's rating to come in possibly by Friday. The financing team on the right, you can see the underwriter, senior writer is R.W. Beard, and the co-manager is FTN Financial Capital Markets. Underwriters counsel is McGuire Woods, and the trustee is Bank of New York. So again, going into the lower left calendar, the remaining items is the pricing of the bonds on October 16th and then closing on November 5th. So, any questions?
Thank you. Questions for Gary? Commissioner Dorson?
So just going backwards through your presentation, the key debt model metric slide, which is the next. It's got those, for those 20, 22, 23, 24, it's in red. That's because we're over our 16% threshold.
That's correct. That's our 15% of
15%.
revenue. And as cited, the rating agencies love the fact that we have a long-term model, and you know, they see that we're aware of that. You are aware of that. There's a plan to address that. So that gives them a great deal of comfort, and that there's a plan which have been implementing the past couple of years with respect to the tax rate to address that. So that was, it's in red. We update it, and we know it, and we're addressing it. So.
And then I have another question, which maybe is better directed to the manager or the deputy manager. You mentioned the community loan fund. That's one of the line
Yes,
items
sir.
on here. So that's the thing we agreed that we wouldn't make grants to anybody for capital improvements.
capital, yeah.
But we would allow them to qualify
For capital campaigns.
low or no interest loans.
Right, right.
And so does this number reflects that several organizations have taken advantage of that offer?
Yes, 3 organizations have taken advantage of that. So then we go borrow the money for them, and then that's how they get the money.
So it would be nice, Captain, if we could get, just as an information item, a little summary of who those organizations
Sure.
are, how much they got, what's the expected, payback, and
Okay,
so
we'll take care of
that's
that.
reassuring, right? We struggled with, where there was some differences on the board about whether that should be part of grants, and we concluded, the majority concluded that it shouldn't be. It should be in the form of these loans. And it's clear that provided a benefit that these organizations wanted to take advantage of. So it's worth getting that information, and then probably getting getting some publicity about that, and taking credit for the way that the board handled that. I think it's important.
Yeah, and it's working,
Yeah, and that it's working, so,
the process.
yeah.
Great, we'll get that information. Additional questions for Gary? Okay, I have one member from the public, Mr. Riley Ruski. Three minutes, sir.
Good evening again.
Good evening.
Some of the updated information wasn't available at your last meeting when the savings were presented and that, so my data is not quite as specific as that. But in the June budget meetings, comments were made that a number of the capital projects were delayed or deferred because county management could not execute them on schedule. Should the additional 20 million, now it's about 18 million, be reduced to cover only projects that will be completed on schedule, thus avoiding unnecessary costly burdens on the taxpayers? Secondly, when the 2019-2020 budget was prepared, presumably the interest rate of these new bonds was similar to the then existing rate. That means that the interest payments on the new bonds would be roughly $500,000 less than originally budgeted. Combined with the savings from the refinancing of the old bonds, the total reduction appears somewhere in the neighborhood of $1 million. Since this is primarily funded by property taxes, there would only be real savings if this money is returned to the property taxpayers. Will Orange County be issuing rebate checks to the property taxpayers, or will it be sending out new reduced property tax bills?
Thank you, Mr. Ruski. We're good? Okay, so 6A, the manager is recommending that we approve, sorry, I lost my place.
Here it is.
I get it.
Okay.
I got it. Okay. So the manager is recommending that the board approve the final financing resolution authorizing the steps to proceed with the financing of the stated capital projects and equipment and refinancing of the existing debt obligations.
Move the manager's recommendation.
And we have a first and second by Price. All those in favor?
Aye.
Against? Okay, thank you. Okay, now 6B is approval of the commissioner meeting schedule, and as you recall, we had this at our last meeting. There was some questions about meetings and possibly moving them around. And Donna Baker was working on the calendar. Unfortunately, she's not here tonight, but David is going to step in her place. And basically what we have, and I'm hoping that I'm going to do Donna good here, we have the original calendar. The draft is option 1. And then Donna took some of the suggestions that came out of the last conversation at the last meeting and created option 2. And David is going to, well, they're kind of teeny.
What I've tried to do here is what seemed to be under discussion the first 6 months of each of these 2 calendars. So I have the first 6 months of the original option and the first 6 months as we've amended it based on the comments at the last meeting to attempt to spread out the number of meetings between the months. We've added an additional, moved a meeting from April to March and moved a meeting from May to June and tried to shift some to have weeks without 2 meetings a week. We have not added or reduced any number of any meetings. They're all here.
It just forces us to go a week later than we usually do. So you can see April 23rd has been moved up to March, and then the meetings in June go a little bit longer, so the last meeting is the 23rd.
Right, in moving the April meeting up to March,
Yes.
that gives you 16 weeks in a row with a meeting at least once a week on the option 2 calendar. On the option 1 calendar, you have 11 weeks in a row with at least 1 meeting a week. And it's kind of the nature of the beast of budget season that you have a couple of months there with a high concentration of meetings.
Okay, folks, discussion.
Well,
Commissioner Price?
I will just say that personally, I like in option 2, moving the April meeting to March. However, I would just as soon, well, actually, mine would be a hybrid, but keep the May and June meetings as they are.
In option
That-
1?
As they are in option 1. I mean, as you were saying, you know, that's the nature of the beast with the budget, and I would just assume that we finalize the budget as we usually do by the middle, you know, that 3rd week in June. But I do like the idea of moving that 1 April meeting, so we don't have 3 meetings in that week of April 19th, and moving that work session, moving that work session to March. So I would suggest a hybrid.
Commissioner Markopoulos?
I like option 1, to stick with what we've been doing. I think it works fine, and we certainly, I don't think we gain anything by delaying a week, and there's some persuasive information in here about, the school schedule and the North Carolina City County Managers Association Conference and other stuff. I just think we should stick with what we've been doing. It's been working fine.
Commissioner McKee?
Yeah, I'll also speak for option 1. Irregardless of where we switch these meetings to, we're not going to change the number of meetings, we just change the dates they occur on. I've really not had any problem with these meetings other than sometimes getting here on time, so I'm going to continue to support option 1.
Okay, we heard from Commissioner Price. Commissioner Bedford, do you want to weigh in, and then we'll let Commissioner Dorson weigh in?
It doesn't really matter to me. I do like Renee's hybrid suggestion of moving the April 23rd to the March 31st, but if others prefer to have a week off, and that could be a holiday week for all I know, I don't know. It doesn't matter to me.
And Commissioner Dorson?
Yeah, well, I mean, I'm just looking at the list of considerations. I mean, I think that for me, having one meeting per week for 16 weeks in a row, I don't think that matters, that they're the first and fourth instead of the first. I mean, the only one that really, I don't like the fact that it conflicts with the managers' conference, but to me, the key is the next to last bullet, the penultimate bullet, which says, option 2 provides a longer time frame for the budget and allows for more discussion and deliberation. I think we heard from a lot of people that the process seemed rushed, that they didn't feel like they had enough information last time, that the way the amendments came up and were presented didn't give folks enough time. So, that's the real consideration. But the stuff about school ending, I don't know how significant that is. But I do think that having a longer time frame is better to have those discussions. I know we're going to do something different with the amendments this time, so people will get more information sooner. Is that right?
Yeah, there will be actually, and it's on option 1 and option 2, and that is there will be public hearings after the recommended budget, manager's recommended budget. Then there'll be another public hearing after all the amendments are in.
The public hearings used to be in the same week or a week apart. And in this one, we put the second public hearing closer to the end of the budget process to give the public an opportunity to comment on any kind of proposals that the commissioners may offer up after they've heard the proposed budget.
So how significant is the conflict with the managers' conference for you?
That's not
If you
significant.
tell me it's significant,
No, it's not. It's not.
Are you sure?
Yeah,
You can
it's
tell-
not.
you can say
I
if it
didn't. I
is.
didn't add that in. That was put in by. No, it's not. I haven't actually attended that, and it's not been because of work. It's been rather preference to stay here on the budget and stuff.
It's an odd time of the year to have a manager's conference when
That
everybody's
is-
doing their
I
budgets.
don't think they have that. That one is, there's a winter and a summer, and I always go to the winter. The summer one is an odd time, and it's, somewhere nice, and it's not really necessary for me to attend.
You're being candid.
I am.
about
I'm
that.
I'm being honest.
Okay.
All right, so for me, I think with the way that the manager and the clerk worked out the additional public hearings, I think the public does get enough time after the amendments are put in there. So I'm not too concerned about the additional time in June there. I lean towards just staying to 1, but I mean, if folks want to do the hybrid, that's fine also. But I don't particularly want to go later in June.
I don't think any of us did.
Well, Commissioner Dorson does,
Oh,
just to give more time for discussion,
I'm
just to
sorry.
explain that.
It's down there.
We do need to get an agreement on this tonight, though. That's correct? We need to get this voted on, so. Commissioner Markopoulos.
I'll just reiterate that I think that changing up the way we do this, hold the meeting, solves the problem of participation. I don't think adding another week improves that. So I still think option 1 is the good one.
Ready for motion?
Sure.
I would move that we adopt option 1 for the 2020 meeting calendar.
Second?
We have first and a second. All those in favor, aye? Say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Against?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, let's hands. All those in favor, aye?
I'll change my vote now.
Okay.
Well, I'll go
Against?
along with it. I really don't care. I can go along with it. Because the main.
Okay, let's do it, let's just get the vote down, okay? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, against?
No.
Okay, so That's a 5-1.
If we
Commissioner
vote one more
Price.
time, we might get a unanimous
Yeah, well,
vote.
we'll keep present. Commissioner Price.
Oh, no, I'm fine. My biggest thing, I think the biggest issue was the June meetings. I was just proposing, lessening April, but I can deal with it. It's not a big deal.
Okay. Thank you, David. You did wonderfully. I'll pass that message on to Donna. All right, we have no reports, so we move to the consent agenda.
Did we move?
We don't do that.
I'm sorry?
Did we move one? Can we move 8?
We're doing that now.
Well, I just have a question about the consent agenda to Commissioner McKee's point
Yep.
earlier. Do you want us to
Pull that.
remove? Oh, okay,
I wanna
you're going
pull
to, okay.
that. I'm sorry, I
He
got off.
said he was going to pull it.
I want to pull item, I wanted it on the very end so that I could just not have to get up and disturb and then come back in.
Oh, I
So
thought you wanted.
what I'm going to do now is ask that we pull item 8E, the approval of design contract, and that the board excuse me from voting. I'm asking to be able to recuse myself. I'm a Summit employee. I work in the CEI department, which is inspections. I have worked for CMT, which is materials testing. I'm too close to this issue.
County Attorney, is that okay to do?
Yes, you have to excuse him by vote of the board.
Okay. So let's do that now. All those in favor of excusing Commissioner McKee for the approval of 8E, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Yes.
Need a motion and a
Oh,
second.
So moved.
sorry, let's get the motion. I thought he was motion, yeah. Sorry. Okay.
Can you make a motion?
I make your own motion, yeah.
I'll make the motion.
Okay, Price and Bedford, all those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, so that, yeah. Anyone else want to pull something from the consent agenda? Okay, I would like to pull F, if that's okay with everyone. And so I need approval on A, B, C, and D.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay, A, B, C, and D are approved. And then F is the performance agreement between Chapel Hill and the Visitors Bureau. I just wanted to pull this just to make a comment. If y'all go read through the agenda item, you can see that Chapel Hill has been a supporter of the Visitors Bureau for a very long time. And the occupancy tax, overall in Orange County is 3%, but then each town has 3% as well. When Chapel Hill hits a certain level of engagement, they start taking a percentage of that 3% and give it back into the Visitors Bureau. So we all know the Visitors Bureau does not run on taxpayer dollars. It runs completely on occupancy tax. So I just wanted to thank Chapel Hill and appreciate their efforts, their continued efforts in supporting the Visitors Bureau. That was why I pulled that. So I need someone to move 8F.
So moved.
All right, McKee and then Price, all those in favor? Aye. Against? Okay, now we need someone to,
So it does run on tax dollars, just not property tax
it doesn't run on property tax dollars, it runs on occupancy tax dollars.
Right.
And most of the occupancy tax dollars come from people that are out of state.
Right, but
Which
there's
is,
still tax dollars.
they are tax dollars, that's correct. Okay, so now we need approval of 8E.
Move approval of 8E.
So we got Bedford and Price. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Against? Okay. That went well. You can come back now. County Manager's report.
Thank you, Madam Chair and County Commissioners. I'll just draw your attention to a number of items in information items. A couple of them are petitions that have been responded to, and just an update on some of the work we're doing towards the local fest and other things. It is also my pleasure this evening to introduce to you our new housing director, Emma Sutton. I would ask that she come forward and introduce herself to you all. She's been on board with us for a week and we met with her today, and she's moving forward and taking care of stuff, so we're really pleased to have her here.
Welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. Commissioners, I'm really excited to be here. Happy to have this opportunity. I was drawn to it from the already kind of innovative things and the support that has happened for affordable housing in this community. I think there's a lot of opportunity. I've been in affordable housing for 15 years. Most recently came from the North Carolina Housing Finance Agency. Prior to that, I was working in homelessness. I've also worked a little bit in home ownership, so I've kind of seen the entire continuum. So I look forward to addressing all of those needs for this community and working with you all to do those things.
Thank you.
Thank you for the opportunity.
That concludes my report.
Thank you. County Attorney's report.
A few things. So as I mentioned to the board in an email, the Supreme Court case involving Orange County has been continued at the plaintiff's request. But they are still going to have two cases and hear those two cases right here. So I won't have tickets. So if you are interested in going, the clerk of court can arrange for you to attend. So I'd encourage you, if you do want to attend that event, to contact the clerk, and he should.
And that's
be able-
happening at the Whitted building, right here.
Right here.
Yep.
The legislature has not had a lot of activity except what you see in the news. They've continued to convene, and there have been a couple of committee hearings, but nothing really going on right now. The firearms discharge issue, I've discussed that with planning staff, and it's going to take them a while to get the information that you want. It may not be ready by November. It may be the February work session before that's available for a further discussion, but they are going to start working on that. And the last thing is, there are a few Code of Ordinance amendments coming, and I want to say one of them will be to the weapons ordinance, no weapons in county buildings that will not involve firearms. A resident noticed a discrepancy on what constitutes a pocket knife, which is allowed in county buildings. So I want to make clear that people are aware that we're just going to clear up that discrepancy about what a pocket knife is. So, thank you. That's all for me.
If I might make a comment on a pocket knife, if you go into Chatham County Courthouse and you've got a pocket knife, it will be relieved of you.
I had a keychain pocket knife once, and that was taken from me at a courthouse as well. So
But we can have a pocket knife here.
you can, if it does not exceed the length restrictions, but there's a discrepancy in that length restriction in the code, so I'm going to fix that and bring it to y'all.
I know. You got your knife, I got it. Okay, thank you. As the manager said, there's lots of information items there to read, as well as Commissioner Markopoulos brought to our attention, the electric vehicle charging stations. And the local fest is now going to be called the Local Roots Fest, Local Roots Festival. So that is happening in June, and that's pretty exciting. And that's all I got. Anyone else have anything? All right, well, I just want to wish everyone a Happy New Year to our Jewish friends. We just celebrated Rosh Hashanah, Shana Tova, and with that, let's get a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
It's hardly worth driving up here.